Hey, just a quick update that I'm going to be offering this new workshop. I was basically trying to think of what I would be really excited to offer, what I really want to give people. And this is essentially a big picture view of how I approach well-being. It's the four main dimensions of being that I find really helpful to understand and look at and work with when we want more inner peace, inner harmony, healing, growth, all of these things. The first part is on the mind and body, and specifically the mind-body connection, how they influence each other, how they're reactive to each other. Often when we are working with either meditation or therapy, we look at one at a time, which is really helpful, but we really also need to look at the reactivity and how they influence each other. So this section covers really pragmatic tools and practices that we can use to bring more inner harmony between the mind and body, more understanding. My whole approach is that the better we understand these parts of ourselves, the more easily we can bring them into harmony. And so there's a lot of practices and really practical techniques to better understand these things experientially, not just like a mental understanding, but a real felt understanding. And that really just starts to bring more rest and ease and harmony to these things. And it kind of opens the gates to just having a better perspective, wisdom, growth, all of these things. And then the second part of the workshop is the relationship between what I'm calling here spirit and soul. Now, soul is what we often explore in depth psychology, which is the most unique part of ourselves. So often we spend our lives building up this sense of self based on wanting to fit in the world, needing a sense of belonging, needing validation from peer groups and society at large. And so we build up this sense of self that isn't really us. It may have some aspects of us in it, but it often ends up a barrier to us embodying a truer, more authentic, more creative sense of self. So we're going to explore how we can essentially get out of our own ways and connect to this more essential, more authentic part of ourselves. And there's a lot that gets in the way. This is a very challenging process, and it often starts to happen organically in like midlife, like often in people's 30s, but very often younger or older. But what happens is we don't realize it's happening. Suddenly, all of the old things that used to feel good, that used to bring us a sense of belonging or enjoyment, don't resonate anymore, and then we don't know what to do. It can be a very uncomfortable process, and therefore people often look back to earlier sources of comfort and try to, just reground, when really what we need to do is embrace this newness, is learn to let go, learn to be in the unknowing, and just allow this newer, more creative, more authentic sense of self to naturally emerge. Easier said than done. But the other thing is spirit, or what I'm calling spirit. But this is really what Buddhism is pointing to. It's the oneness. It's that we are all one. It's what makes us similar to each other. It's when we look in another person's eyes or even in animals' eyes, and there's that recognition of sameness. And it's actually through connecting with spirit, through connecting with the divine, that the sense of self often comes apart. And then that can often make way for the more authentic self to come through. So although these things seem very different, the sense of what Buddhism may call no self, the sense of not being separate from anything, not being an individual, but then also the sense of being your true authentic self, these things are actually deeply complementary. And so this is what we're going to explore in the second workshop. So these are relatively short, just like 2-hour workshops. They're going to be very introductory. I'm probably going to be running them a few times, but first of all, online, I only have one date set. We're going to see how it goes. If you happen to be in Mexico City, I'm going to be running these in Mexico City in person. But you can check in the description for the dates for the next workshop, and please sign up for my newsletter if you're interested in this thing. I'm trying to make the workshops very affordable. You can see all the info, the prices and whatnot. But also, if you can't afford it, I'm not going to turn anyone away for lack of funds. I may limit the size of the group, but I'm not going to turn anyone away if they can't afford it. I'm also going to use this workshop as a jumping off point to go deeper into these things if the people are interested. So if these things interest you, sign up for the workshop, or at least let me know you're interested so I can kind of put you on the list and keep you updated for future workshops. And yeah, we'll see where it all goes. So thank you very much. And I have a bunch of new content coming for the channel, so stay tuned for that as well.